Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingletown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio, and this is our High School Hoops weekly recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts along with our special opening guest as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingletown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors, and they are Rickabaz Electric, Payor Apparel, American Legion Post 272, Sam Hartley Decking, Modern Imprint, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, and Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Thanks again to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingletown Gazette Sports and our area student athletes. Upcoming on Gazette Sports Chat, we're just about at the tail end here of a great string of interviews. We've been at this all basketball season. I encourage you to go back to, you can go onto YouTube and everything's stored on there. But we've interviewed so many great male and female boys and girls basketball players over the last couple months. Some girls wrestlers. We have Coach Bill Wolf and Randy Gambalungi head to head. They've been rivals for many years. They're also friends. The point is, though, we've done some great interviews, some great recap shows. We've been doing this every week since the beginning of the season. So we'd love for you to go in and see what you may have missed. Tonight at 7, right after this show, our first ever Mid-Penn Conference live all-star selection show. We're going to be joined by two local boys basketball writers. I'll spill the beans now. I haven't spilled them, but we're going to have Dan Sostek on from Penn Live, Patriot News, and Christian Eby from Carlisle Sentinel, Cumberlink. And those guys, they know a lot about boys basketball. They're going to help us. By the time we're done with this show tonight, the 7 o'clock show, we're going to have our picks done. So we'll be able to present the teams in their entirety before we go off the air. This Wednesday, we have, we're just going to call it the State of Girls Basketball. We haven't been able to get a girls show together this year because I haven't been able to find anybody to help. But I have Eric Epler going to come on and give me a hand, and we're just going to talk about where things stand on the girls' side. There's been a lot of great basketball. We haven't really reported on it to the extent that we would have liked to. So Wednesday, the 19th, this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And then we are looking to we're going to get a unified bocce show together. And I don't want to get in too much to what unified bocce is, but it's very interesting. I'm going to encourage you to watch the show once we schedule it and air it. And we'll let you know more as we get there.
Well, bocce is a PIAA sport now.
No, it's not a sanctioned sport.
It is because Mifflin County has it up on their board. They won the bocce.
Well, that's because their board's bare and they got to put something up there. You still get to say you had a state championship if it's not sanctioned, but it's not sanctioned. Anyway, if I stand corrected if I'm wrong. I just didn't think that it was sanctioned. So anyway, let's get to our opening guest, interview our guest here. Tonight's opening guest in his 12th season as a boys high school basketball head coach, the first 5 at Anvil Cleona, the last 7 at Middletown Area High School. He's led his Blue Raiders teams to multiple Mid-Penn Conference division titles in 2 different divisions now, a District 3 championship and a state Final Four appearance. This season's team captured the Mid-Penn Colonial title in their first year as a member of that division and opened the District 3 tournament this Tuesday at Exeter Township, competing up a classification from 4A to 5A for the first time in school history. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show Middletown head coach Chris Bradford. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you for sure. And did I get everything right there? The time frame? Okay. I always ask because I never know for sure. Google could be your friend or your enemy, So anyway, we're excited to have you. We're all just going to kind of take turns here. And the first thing I want to ask you about, though, is I was at the Mid-Penn tournament, the opening round at Central Dauphin. You played Trinity. Trinity ended up the winner there that night. But what about that atmosphere, man? That was kind of electric in there, wasn't it? Did you feel that way? It was loud, crowded, and
we talked about it a lot before the game too, like having an opportunity to kind of put what we do day in and day out on display for people that might not usually get an opportunity to see us. I mean, the first opportunity to play in that Mid-Penn tournament. I mean, having been down in the LL, and seeing from afar kind of how York and Berks and other leagues do it. Our version of it's a little different. But again, one of the first teams that I know of since they kind of enacted that 4-team, tournament there at the end of the year, to have an opportunity to go and put our best out there. Obviously the result didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but to be able to take, like the day-to-day work and put it on display for other people and give those kids an opportunity to play on the stage was really cool.
Hey, you look like you belong there, though. That's for sure. I mean, it was a competitive game for most of the game, and you lost to a really good Trinity team. Let's face it. And what a night to have your girls team there too. They walked away with a win over Trinity, so they kind of it didn't make up for your outcome, but at least they got a win and were able to go down and play at Milton Hershey on Thursday. I was really happy for Coach Dixon and her girls. That's for sure. So you won the Colonial Division with a 12-2 league record. Talk about the difference, and I know there are the differences between the Capital Division, which your program was a member of for 14 seasons, and this Colonial Division, which seems to have its differences in a multitude of ways. Style of play, maybe, definitely geographics, lack of built-in rivalries. We talked before we went on the air. What are the differences, and how did you enjoy being in the Colonial this year?
Well, hey, I mean, we're excited to have an opportunity to go out and play any night we got to. It really doesn't matter who's out in front of us. You do hit upon the fact that you're losing out on some of those games that the town gets up for just a little bit. I mean, the biggest one that we concerned ourselves with, and not that you can always control it, is how to tackle the long drive. You go on an hour and a half bus ride down to Waynesboro, and you try and do things to make sure that you can get off the bus ready to go. And so kind of just thrown right into the mix of that early on in the season. We go down to Gettysburg, we go down to Greencastle in our first 2 games in the division on the road. You really try and figure some different ways out to kind of get moving, to get the rust off from that long bus ride. I mean, that you mentioned geographics. That's probably the biggest one. The style of play. I mean, high school basketball, you're going to see in any division different styles of play. I think we saw a lot more zone this year than we might have saw in the Capital, the 4 previous seasons. But with the way some of our teams were playing, and what we were able to do effectively offensively, inevitably we were going to run into zone sooner or later anyway. So it was always something that we knew we had to prepare for and to kind of see what different teams will throw at us. The big thing people said was like, you got 7 new teams to scout for. The flip side of that is going into a new division. Everyone had to kind of prepare for us too.
Absolutely.
And so it kind of cuts both ways.
Good. Okay. Coach Ty Savercool, you have any questions for your friend here?
I'm going to hit a non-Middletown question just because you have LL experience and Mid-Penn experience. So, and it's the raging topic of conversation every February with the conference tournaments. Do you like the current setup of 4 teams? Do you want 8 teams? Do you think it should be something in the middle or different? Like, what do you feel? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I get it from both sides, and I think the history of what it is in those other leagues probably plays a large role into what that does. I mean, I think I watched or followed pretty closely Central West York and was watching clips of that because we had just played West York. Dylan Hudson-Emery, who helps Jeff Hoke out, is in the building. So we talk every day about hoops. And so just to kind of see that and you see the clip and you see the full gym and what coach wouldn't want his players to have an opportunity to play in that atmosphere. And then the coach side of me is like, if we win this, then we got another prep day to get ready for another game. It doesn't really do anything for us. And we'd rather be getting ready for, that district tournament, which is really what not that those leagues don't matter. Those league tournaments don't matter, but what we're going to be remembered for is that opportunity. So I get both sides of it. I thought for us, if we win that Trinity game, we lose 2 days of prep for Exeter, who we need those 2 days of prep for. So I completely understand it both ways. I've heard the argument to add a second team from each division in, and you make it an 18 tournament, you extend it by really 2 days. I'm sure schedule wise, there's ways to make that work. I mean, where our district deadline kind of falls, You can see in the other leagues that have the larger tournaments that their schedules end sooner. Ours extend further. And so there's ways to make it work. At the end of the day, we're playing basketball and getting the kids opportunities. I'm happy with either of them.
Dave Berman, let me stand corrected before I have you ask a question. Unified bocce is now a sanctioned PIAA sport. Okay, so you were right, I was wrong. Dave, you have a question for Coach Bradford?
That's okay. All right, Coach. You have a pretty balanced attack. You are led by Alil Batts. He's a senior. You have a bunch of grizzled seniors on the squad, 21.7 points a game. Then you got Tim Moore, 8 points a game. Landon Kaiser, I'm telling everybody here, our audience, running down to Avery Askins, 5.8 points a game. Kylin Noon, 4. DeAndre Culbertson, some guys off the bench here. I mean, you got looks like you. And I saw your game against Trinity. You have some guys that pretty deep. I think a pretty deep team that can help you guys out.
And what was unique for us this year, and maybe not unique for coaches in general, but something that has been a rarity in 12 seasons for me, is to throw a starting lineup out there with 5 seniors. And what that takes off your table as a coach in terms of what you expect out of your guys and what they expect out of themselves when you have that kind of experienced group. It's a little bit different in the prep work, in the day-to-day practices and scenarios you go through in that. We've gone 7-8 deep. I think that's similar to what even going back to early Anvil days, it's 7-8 deep. You start getting into bigger lineups than that, it becomes tough come like crunch time, playoff time to really get the minutes where you want them to get. But yeah, when we've played balance, we've been a really, really tough team to limit. But again, as a coach, I think like one of the things I've always tried to stress, and you could ask our guys that is we really do put a lot of pride and time into the defensive end of the floor. And you saw our team the other day. It's not, we don't have a ton of 6'2", 6'3" guys out there. We're really 4 guards and a big man, with a big man and some guards off the bench, without a lot of size. It really is team defense, team rebounding. And then, offensively, just trying to find ways to get guys in space to make the plays they can make.
Right. Who's looking at Alil for college?
Yeah, there's been people coming around. That's a kid that puts time in.
He's good. He's really good.
To see his growth from freshman year, even from last year to this year, and how he's kind of picked up with some of the guys that we've had before. Offensively, have had to bear to kind of shoulder the burden of. He's done too this year as a senior, as a group of seniors, to see how they kind of have pushed through, feeling each other out, feeling how this team's going to play offensively, and then to get every opposing team's best shot and deal with it, and to deal with it with your head up and not really taking those adverse hits and letting them affect your game. I think he's shown a lot of fortitude with that this year, and to see the way our guys have rallied around him. I've been proud of what we've seen that, because if you would have told me that freshman year with that kid, the way, because we kept we don't have a freshman program. So some years we're keeping freshmen involved and getting them JV minutes, and some years they're playing down junior high. He was a guy we kept up. And so 4 years, and I think this is day 81 for us this year. You start multiplying that. We've spent about a year's worth of days in the gym together, and to see that growth is really cool. And not to devalue anything from those other guys, because we've got multi-sport athletes. We've got guys that put in work, that show up every day. We don't miss practices. We were in there this morning on a Sunday, nasty weather and all that. We were in there yesterday at 8 a.m. The guys show up, do the work, and come this time of the year, really, like this, it's not a lot of changing. It's a little bit more prep work for what other teams are going to throw at you, X's and O's. But come in, check some boxes off, make sure everyone's minds are right, make sure everyone's bodies are right, get them a little lift, get them a little stretch, and make sure we're doing the right things outside of the gym to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish.
All right, John Velios.
Coach, welcome to the show, and congrats on the success so far this year. You were an assistant with Middletown prior to taking your first head coaching job at Anvil Cleona, and then you came back to Middletown. So over those years, you've built your roots into the Middletown community. Do you have a mentor or somebody that you still talk to on a daily basis or a regular basis for advice when you need it?
Yeah. Well, I'm from here. I graduated from Middletown in 2004, and I mean, 2 years at LVC playing football, and then 5 years at Anvil as a head coach. Like the only time I haven't been in Middletown has been in Anvil. So that place will always kind of have a little spot in my heart. But I mean, when Shaq got the job, Chris Bradford got the job when he came over from Northern. The first time, he had been a JV coach my junior year in high school, and so I still had his number saved. I think I was working at an HVAC distributor. I'd gotten my degree in 2008, and that 2008 the economy fell apart, and it wasn't a really great time to go out and find jobs. Shot him a call. He gave me an opportunity to coach a junior high team. We won 0 games. Actually, the team won 1 game that year. I learned a very valuable lesson as a coach that year. They won 1 game, and I wasn't allowed to coach it because I got ran the game before. So I don't get technical fouls anymore. I think I had 1 in 5 years at Anvil, and I have yet to get 1 in 7 at Middletown on my way back. But I mean, Chris Bradford did a lot for me, even to get me into the career as an educator that I am. I mean, he's in Harrisburg now. I know he's still living off the high of the Eagles Super Bowl win, as are all fellow Birds fans. I like.
There we go. There we go.
Birds.
I'm sorry.
But I mean, he's certainly one. And listen, there's so many people in this town that do for not just me, but for the school and for our guys and for, you know, the Middletown at large, that like it really does take a village. And Middletown's just a heck of a village. I'm raising my kids here. I got a 5th and a 6th grader. I was fortunate. I got to do the dad thing this weekend and watch my son play 4 basketball games. Chocolate Town tourney that Coach Blackburn puts on, does a great job with that. I think we were at one of the St. Joan of Arc schools, and then over at Advanced, I was surprised they didn't cancel it. You know, that treacherous weather yesterday where we cancel everything really early, but we got an opportunity to do that. I mean, Chris Bradford first and foremost, and then the guys I have on my coaching staff, the older guys I have with Chris and Dan, and even Dave Coffey, who does our books. We call him coach. He's in the gym when he can get there. Those guys really do a lot for me. Just being able to show up every day with the mindset and the energy that's needed to undertake something like, you know, running a high school basketball program. There's a lot to it, and I don't think anyone's ever done it alone. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to finish with this question here. We started with that Mid-Penn game, which was the beginning of the postseason for you guys, and now you're at the next step or the next level. Tell us a little bit about what you know about Exeter Township. You're moving up from 4A to 5A, which naturally is going to give you some more challenging matchups. I mean, depending on how long you last, but even just start with Exeter Township. They're a team that traditionally plays at a real high level in the regular and postseason. I think John and I saw them. They were runners up, last year, the year before, down at the Berks tournament. But I just know that they play hard and they show up for postseason. What do you know about them?
Very talented offensive group, and everyone that I've talked to in putting scouts together and watching film and trying to dig info out of people they've played, people that know the coach, and things like that. Like, their early initial offense is effective. They hunt shots that they want certain guys to get, and they'll put your help in a really rough position where they're running their action, and the guy that should be helping, if he gets drug into that action, then the guy he's leaving is the guy that can knock down the shot. I mean, they're an extremely talented offensive group, and that's what everyone says. But then you turn around and you watch them on the defensive end. They got size, they got speed. I mean, it's going to take a good game from us to make sure that this thing goes into the four quarters and gives us an opportunity to win. But, you know, when we set out at the beginning of the year to put our goals together, it's always division, district, state. And so we got the Division I checked off, and, we're on a little bit of a skid right now. Like, we've lost 4 in a row, and no one in the gym is happy about that. But now the opportunity to get closer to the Giant Center, to get closer to playing for a district title, to win one game in the 5A tournament and punch your ticket to the States, no matter what else follows it. Like, our goals are still right there in front of us. So, we can feel bad about, we've lost the game. It started with an overtime loss, and then a rough one down in Waynesboro, and then Trinity, and but that past is the past, and no one really cares. It's all about the opportunity in front of you. And so we get to go down into what's going to be a hostile gym on Tuesday night. Middletown usually travels well with us, so we look forward to putting all that good work that we've done the last few days in the gym, and all that prep work, and rolling the ball out, and putting our best effort there, and the chips fall where they may at that point.
Well, we certainly.
I see that their non-league schedule played a very, very tough Exeter, lost by 6 to Cedar Crest, who just won the Lancaster Lebanon League Championship. Played 2 of my guys down here. They played my buddy Mike Doyle in Pencrest, who's 18-3 down here, Coach. And that was a 49-38 win for Pencrest. Took on Springford, gave them a good game, a 6A powerhouse down here. So, yeah, Aiden Daubel, that's the guy, right? And Brady Murray.
35 and 33. Both really, they got size. 35 can do some damage in the paint, and 33 is a sniper. At least it's something 60-plus threes on the year. Take away his airspace. And then and again, I think we have guys that defensively that can do their job, but at the end of the day, 5 guys on the floor got to be able to kind of play cohesively to limit what they want to do. And I think once we get them off, early action, a little bit of their Spain stuff, a little bit of UCLA doubles where they're popping and flaring the back screen. If we can get them off of that into some regular motion, then we can, have them shoot the shots we want them shooting, not the ones they want. And, rebound the misses. I mean, because that's really always been a focus of ours, being a little bit undersized. We've got guards that are pushing 80 rebounds on the year. There isn't one guy on our team that's, over 100 rebounds that's doing all the damage on the glass. Like, we've got to do that collectively. So they had their struggles earlier on in the year. And now you look at the way they're playing, after they played in Cedar Crest Holiday Tournament, Palmyra and Steelton, some local teams that they've had. So, we've got, we've been on the film for, I want to say about 3 weeks now, kind of seeing that was probably in the cards for where we were going to end up with a matchup. They were one of 3 or 4 teams we knew with a pretty good certainty that we were going to end up with. So there's been a lot of work that went into that. And, now we got one more day of gym time and go play the game. And we're excited to be able to do that now.
Well, we wish you well, Coach. We appreciate you joining us tonight. If you have any time at 7:00, you might want to jump back on and check out our, it may interest you, yourself and maybe some player or so on your team that we're definitely going to be talking about. So
Gotcha.
Once again, if anybody's viewing right now, that's our Mid-Penn All-Star Selection Show at 7. Coach Chris Bradford, we really appreciate it. Congrats again on your Colonial Division Championship. We wish you well against Exeter Township in the opening round of the 5A District 3 tournament.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys. And
thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Guys that do what you do, that put a light on, high school athletes in the area. It is very much appreciated, and I know the kids love it. And I'm sure the parents do too. So, keep doing what you guys do. It's
Alil was phenomenal. He was a great guest. He was just with us, a week or so ago. Yeah, he was really a joy to have.
Yeah, with 6 guys behind the glass on the
other
man.
Side. He was sitting like in the hallway or the locker room or something like that. But
he was in the coach's room. Yeah,
that's cool. Okay, well, we appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and good luck moving forward.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Look.
All right, so that's Coach Chris Bradford from Middletown Area High School, 7th-year Coach Chris Bradford. And we're going to keep on moving, guys, because we want to try to get whatever we have to get in here so we can start the second show tonight at 7:00. So let's just start with this. York Adams, all the conference tournaments are in the book, the District 3 conference tournaments. Let's just kind of recognize the winners here The York Adams tournament, Central York 73 over York William Penn 64. That was the championship game. Third straight title for York or for Central York. And the girls' side, Dallastown over Red Lion, third straight title for Dallastown. Burke's tournament, Wilson 55, Reading 39. That's 2 in a row for Wilson. And then Reading won their first girls' title in 10 years, 63-57 over Governor Mifflin. The Lancaster Lebanon tournament, Cedar Crest 45, Warwick 40. Back-to-back titles for Cedar Crest, 3 and 6 years. And then on the girls' side, Lebanon girls, who are very good. They beat Manheim Township. That's their first Lancaster Lebanon title, if it was even called that back then, since 1981, 44 years. So congratulations to all those teams. And let's move on to the Mid-Penn. Now, opening round or the semifinals, I wasn't able to watch it. I know that Ty, Coach Sabercool, you were. Cumberland Valley 54 over Mechanicsburg 48. I was at the Trinity 74, Middletown 49 game. Middletown or Mechanicsburg gave them fits, didn't they?
Second half. First half, the game was trending to be out of hand really quick. Cumberland Valley was up around 15, I think, at halftime, doing a lot of things, getting a lot of shots, kind of the shots they wanted in the second quarter they got. And then second half, I thought Cumberland Valley they couldn't throw it in the ocean if their feet were wet and covered in sand.
Right.
I didn't necessarily see anything that like Mechanicsburg dug in and like did exceptionally well on defense. I just thought Cumberland Valley going cold, and Mechanicsburg chipped away, and then I'd say that last 2-3 minutes, Mechanicsburg went on a 10-0 run to make it a 2-point game, got the ball back in their hands, and missed 2 layups that would have tied it up in the final minute. But a really good game that I thought I'd be turning off in the third quarter if it was going the way it was going. So, Mechanicsburg, they didn't give up. They just weathered the storm, and Cumberland Valley got cold, and then Mechanicsburg got their way back into it.
Well, and you were giving me updates. I appreciate it because I was at the other game, but I had a chance to watch to witness Owen Schlager from Trinity score his 2,000th career point, and it was late in the game against Middletown. The game was already at hand when he scored the point, so they were able to just for a minute give him a ball, and what you do if the game's not on the line, or sometimes when it is on the line actually, but. He's closing in. Schlager's closing in on the school record. Also, John Morris holds the school record, 2,038 points. He played from 98 to 02. Schlager is currently sitting at 2024. So he's going to get that.
He's going to get that.
As long as he stays healthy. And he should get it. He scores 14 points in his sleep. He can have a down or an off game and score.
If they make a deep run too, he's going to beat it easily.
So here's the players, the only players from the Mid-Penn area, let's say, because the conference used to be called different names, go by different names in history that have done this, have scored 2,000 points. Correct me, Dave, you might know of any additional ones, but I don't think so. Billy Owens, Jeff Lebo, Rodney Brooken, Tristan Crawford, Jermaine Hawthorne, they were teammates. They did it within weeks of one another. That's amazing. It's hard to even fathom that. Brad Stoltz from Boiling Springs, John Morris, I just mentioned him from Trinity, Charles Davis from the Scotland School, now defunct Scotland School, and Dave Grabuloff, of course, from Middletown. So that's a short list, guys. Can you guys think of anybody that I'm leaving out? I did a little bit of research, and that's all
just the Mid-Penn, right, Joe? Not District 3. Mid-Penn.
No, that's just what's now considered Mid-Penn. Even Scotland was a member of the Mid-Penn, even though they were in with Chambersburg or even west of Chambersburg, maybe.
Pretty good, Joe. I found I had the list right here. Yeah, you were looking at it.
Is that it? So what must a player do to score 2,000 points? I was just going over this in my mind the other day. And how does that happen? First of all, you have to be a very good offensive player, right, guys? You can't score 2,000 points without being able to score points. But you have to stay healthy and play significant minutes for at least 3 years. If you don't do it for 4 years, you have to really score a lot of points your sophomore, junior, and senior seasons. you have to have the right kind of teammates, and meaning that teammates that need you to be a scorer, that gets you the ball. A coach who plays the right offense and supports the player getting the record. I mean, we've all seen great players that just,
Joe,
they were.
can you run down that list again?
What's that?
Run down that list again.
Owens, Lebo, Brooken, Crawford, Stoltz, Morris, Hawthorne, Davis, and Grabulov.
Okay, I'm just going down. Okay.
And then you have to. How about this one? You have to be on a team that makes deep postseason runs.
That's a must.
I looked at it, and if a player on Altoona played the last 4 years and scored the equivalent amount of points per game, he'd be sitting at 1634 right now. Now, if a player for Altoona was scoring that many points, maybe they would have played some postseason. But I just kind of thought about it, and for what it's worth, it might be worth nothing. That there are some factors, right, Coach Savercool? There's some factors go in besides somebody just being one heck of a basketball player to scoring 2,000 points.
Yeah, I would say even playing 4 years of varsity basketball, for the most part, to get to 2,000. Just because back, I don't know when they switched from 24 games to 22, but you used to play more games in the regular season. 15 years ago or so, there used to be 24 regular season games plus your playoff run. Now you only play 22. So, you're a 20 point per game scorer. That's 40 points a year, 160 points over a career, over 4 years. So, yeah, I mean, essentially you hit everything. Deep playoff runs, got to get to about 28 to 30 games a year. Playing in those conference playoffs are huge because they're essentially they pad on. I mean, my second to last year at Cedar Cliff, Tyler Hauser scored his 1,000th point in his very last game, state playoffs. Had we not made the conference playoffs, he wouldn't have gotten it, even if we made it, because it's 2 games, it's gone.
And he was a scorer too. I mean, he was a scorer, and he barely got to 1,000 points.
He was a 3-year varsity starter. Now he also had the COVID year where we only played about 15 games, which was huge for that. But you got to play 4 years, and you got to make deep runs. And truthfully, smaller schools, you might have a better chance of it happening in today's day and age because the depth factor isn't as there for the teams. You're at a 6A school, you have more depth, you have more guys that can score, so you're not getting at the volume of shots. You're at a smaller school like Trinity that, Owen will get higher volume of shots there versus if he was on the roster at Cumberland Valley or Central Dauphin, as an example.
Yeah, how amazing was it that Tristan Crawford and Tremaine Hawthorne scored 2,000? They came in together, they went out together. I was at both. One of them scored, I think, at Steel High, and the other one scored at Giant Center, like later in the season. But for that to happen, man, I mean, now they had coaches that allowed them to just kind of do their thing because they know how good they were. So, but neither of them was hogging the ball. And anyway, I just still scratch my head when I think about that occurring. So, but let's be clear about something. Owen Schlager's one heck of a basketball player. He's had one heck of a career at Trinity. I just thought it was kind of neat that those factors can contribute sometimes or quite often. So here's a question, guys. Should it be, I'm going to make some enemies here, but should the Commonwealth and Keystone teams play on opposite sides of the, let's call them brackets because it's a 2-round tournament for the Mid-Penn tournament? All right, let me just start with this. Going back to 2015, one time have a team other than a Commonwealth or Keystone team won this title, and that was Trinity in 2019.
I mean, they're the divisions with the biggest schools in them, so it would make sense for them not to have to face each other until the championship game.
No, there's a great point. That is a fabulous point, John. I mean, for anybody that thinks that I'm being insensitive or dissing the Colonial and Capital, I'm not. I'm just saying, I think
Commonwealth is all 6A teams. Keystone is mostly 5A teams, maybe a couple 6As in there, like Mechanicsburg this year.
Mifflin County.
So, So I mean, it makes sense to not have them meet being the largest schools until the actual championship game. Yes,
Right.
you're absolutely right. It makes sense for them to be on the opposite sides.
And I am lumping in the Keystone with the Commonwealth. I'm not trying to say Commonwealth Keystone way down here.
No.
Ty won a title just a handful of years ago and beat Cumberland Valley, a really good Cumberland Valley team with 3 starters or 3 rotation guys out. So, when I'm kind of, propping up the Commonwealth and the Keystone, it's both divisions really have some good schools.
And like you said, just the statistics don't really lie. I mean, you're going back 10 years and the winner has come from the Keystone or the Commonwealth, except for 1 year.
Right. So, it just kind of seemed to me, and man, I should duck when I say this, but it just kind of seemed to me like that game that you guys were watching, the Mechanicsburg Cumberland Valley game, just had to feel like the title game to me. And I don't expect you guys to agree. I don't expect you guys to comment because Trinity's a great program, and they have really good players. We just talked about Schlager, but that's kind of my feeling, and it's the same on the other side, on the girls' side too. It's almost always a Commonwealth team on the girls' side. Cedar Cliff won a couple in a row. Altoona just won without any problem at all. They could have done that with their hands tied behind their back, and I mean, they just really dominated the 2 teams they played. So I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where we'll see that. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Is it, guys? Really not that big of a deal. It's kind of an is what it is thing.
But it never used to be like that until 8, 9, 10 years ago. It used to be that the Commonwealth Keystone were opposite, and then they would rotate the Capital Colonial in terms of who would, which division would play each. And then they switched, I don't know, maybe around 2016, 17 or so, to this like 3-year rotation schedule where they have predetermined. It's predetermined. Ultimately, I just believe every conference should want your 2 best teams playing in the championship game.
That's what I think.
That should be the end goal. I think Berks County does it right. They make every attempt to make that happen, if possible, with how they seed, how they have challenge process for seeding. Like, they do a really good job of trying to make that happen. Do they always get it right? No, but they make every attempt to.
And I'm sure the teams from Berks County, they understand, the lower class teams or the teams from the lower divisions. They understand why it's that way. I would imagine. I don't think anybody's your Antietam and teams like that. They understand that that they're probably not going to win the tournament, if I can say that. So anyway, I just think I hear that conversation a lot, and then I hear the Kirk Smallwood argument. He doesn't even like it, and he's won some. He'd rather get ready for, like Coach Bradford said.
Yeah, we heard what Coach Bradford had to say. He'd rather have the time to prepare for district playoffs, which are more meaningful. Right. But this also leads into the conversation of, like, is the Mid-Penn tournament, which is just a 4-team tournament, really that great of a tournament anymore? Or would we like to see an 8-team playoff like Berks does, and the way that they seed and make it more competitive? But then you go back to what Coach Bradford was saying, is that you'd have to sort of end the season a little bit earlier, or you know what I mean? Because you can't really delay the playoffs, right?
That window's tight. They only have
right.
In fact, they lost the tournament because of weather a few years ago.
Could the season start a few days earlier and end a few days earlier to allow for a longer, like, 8-team tournament? Is that a possibility?
It would have to be, or maybe they didn't lose it. I think they might have lost it in softball. I'm not sure, but yeah, they'll
the
just
time
take the
limit
tournament and cancel it if they feel like they have to.
Right. The time limit now, though, Joe, for the Mid-Penn tournament, which is only 4 teams and 2 nights, they barely get that in. So how would you get an 8-team tournament in?
Well, here's who likes the tournament: the kids. The kids love it.
Right.
I mean that atmosphere. I was at Central Dolphin, and Ty, were you there live, or were you watching it online on TV? Okay, but I'm sure you probably saw it was very electric there at East, and then I was down at Milton Hershey, and it was loud and packed, and so it serves a purpose, I think. I mean, lets kids have fun and compete for hardware, but there's 2 sides. There's 2 arguments, and the other one is that it's really just not a serious tournament. And I mean, Ty, you were a coach, you were a winning coach. I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun winning that tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, ours was a little bit more unexpected, but and I was part of it as an assistant coach at Central Dauphin back in 2011, 2010, whenever CD won it. I was an assistant coach there then. So, and actually the one year I was at Steel High, we lost in the first round. So the kids do like it. I think Chris hit the nail on the head that if they were going to do something, I mean, now there's like essentially a week and a half that to start the season that you could fit in league games.
Right.
Because they bumped up the season a week versus what it used to be. So mid-pens just doesn't start. And some teams play a tip-off tournament and work in some non-conference games. Other teams use that extra time for an extended preseason. But I don't think they'd have to start the season sooner per se. They would just have to move up that league schedule into that open spot, just move it up a week. And that would build in that buffer to add an extra round if that's a path they want to go.
Okay, so let's move on to, and we're going to try to do this in just a few minutes. District 3 playoffs tournament. Just going to mention some of all of the mid-pen teams that have qualified. In 6A, the reigning champ is Cumberland Valley, and we have Chambersburg and Carlisle playing in the first round right out of the gate. That should be exciting. Mechanicsburg up to 6A for the first time. They have the number 2 seed, and they play the 15 seed Conestoga Valley. And here's some intrigue. Cumberland Valley has Ephrata. Central Dauphin has Muhlenberg. And if those two teams win, they'll play for the third time this season. So that could be interesting. Central York and York William Penn would meet in the second round if both of those teams win as well. So I don't know. I'd have to go with who I consider the chalk is Central York or Cumberland Valley, in that, and I'm not really, I guess we're not here to make picks, but you would think that one of those two teams would probably be the favorite. How about 5A? Middletown again, they are at Exeter Township. Hershey hosting New Oxford. Milton Hershey hosting Lower Dauphin. There's kind of a rivalry game there. East Penn going to a really good West York team, and then Northern York going to Lampeter Strasburg. We could see another Milton Hershey game in round 2 if they both win. That could be exciting because that last game they played, I bet you Hershey has an axe to grind. I don't think they liked the way that game went down. The reigning champion is Mechanicsburg. That was their first ever. In 5A, again, they moved up to 6A. How about 4A? McDevitt plays at Berks Catholic. That's kind of a tough assignment there, especially after Berks Catholic coming off of a loss. I think Coach Esterly is going to have those guys ready. And then you have Susquehanna Township. First time they've qualified for the playoff, I think, in 5 years, maybe since 2020. Did they play in 2020? Was that the COVID year? Anyway, they're playing at Wyomissing. Boiling Springs at Eastern York, and then Big Spring hosting Schuylkill Valley. The reigning champ is Eastern York, who beat Big Spring last year. That's 4A. Trinity gets a bye. They wait for the winner of Antietam and Brandywine Heights. And then we're going to mention Halifax. They're not a mid-pen team, but their coach was on our show, and we support them, and we hope that they win. And they're hosting Peckway Valley. The winner goes to Lancaster Mennonite, and the reigning champion is Columbia. And Columbia must have had a lot of seniors last year because I think they finished with like maybe 4 wins this year. But Coach Will Schlegel, if you're watching, and we don't assume that like everybody's watching, but we wish you well, Coach Schlegel, against Peckway Valley and beyond that. And then we're going to stop there. Let's just say the reigning champ in 2A was Lancaster Mennonite, who moved up a class, and in 1A it was Linville Hill, who also moved up to 2A. So that's it, guys. You guys have any comments on District 3?
Check out on the District 3 website the program, the online program they have.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Teams. They did mess up here, though. They did not include the 2024 champions in their history. Can you believe that?
Well,
in the
it's
back
free.
The entire history, and they don't have 2024. Okay. So accurate.
But it's a great it's awesome though. They have the rosters, or of course the rosters, but they have the team photos, and so that's going to do it, guys. We're going to get right back on. If anybody's watching, please check this show out at 7:00. It's 6:45 now. We're gonna bounce out. We're gonna head to the powder room for a little brush up and get ready for the Mid-Penn All-Star Selection Show. Another great guest, Chris Bradford from Middletown. Man, we just what a great guy. We wish him well moving forward against Exeter Township and hopefully beyond. So for Rickaba's Electric, Payer Apparel, American Legion Post 272, Sam Hartley Decking, Modern Imprint, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, Team PA AAU Basketball, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Thanks for being great sponsors of ours. For Dave Berman, Coach Ty Sabercool, and John Velios, I'm Joe Gilloway. We'll see you in about 15 minutes. Thank you.